Good evening and welcome to Being Black and Craft, where we don't apologize for recognizing our influence on craft beer. This is Angie, the Undeniable Vixen, your host, and we have a wonderful guest this evening. But first, let's go ahead and get into some beer news. So, first up, want to give a shout out to friends of the show and my colleagues, Modern Brews and Beats. They just recently were listed as the 25 best North Texas podcasts and 25 best Texas beer podcasts for North Texas. So just a double kudos for them. So they've been doing a really great. Modern Brews and Beats, if you haven't seen them or heard them, they have a great podcast, which they go into brews, which is beer brews or coffee brews, if you're into that, as well as some music. So that's where they get the Modern Brews and Beats from. Shout out to Jerry and Anthony or Tony. Then congratulations is in store right now from Kevin Swerve Irving has been just appointed the president of the Georgia Craft Brewers Guild. And he says, I am honored and excited for the opportunity to represent Georgia beer and our guild membership. My goal, alongside with my fellow board members, is to raise Georgia beer and our guild to be one of the best in the nation. So congratulations to Swerve and everybody out there. I know Atlantucky and Drought Season, as well as Scratch for Action, they're all excited and happy, and I'm excited too to see where that goes. Then this is some great, wonderful news. So we have two people friends of the show. We have April Dove, which is the community beer, as well as Hannah Ferguson with Dope Winery and Cidery. So they were just recently, along with some other wonderful aspiring people, were giving the kudos to be part of the Future 40. So just to give you a little bit of information about that, every year, Wine Enthusiasts Future List recognizes a diverse set of tastemakers who bring the drink business into the future. The Future 40 was normally known as 40 Under 40, but in 2022, Wine Enthusiasts pivoted to the list of Future 40 to better represent inclusion, this feature, which always was meant to convey. So there's no longer an age restriction, even though I'm sure that they're well under 40 or right there near it. The Future 40 honorees inspire innovation. Among them are winemakers, educators, brewers, sommeliers, lawyers, and other professionals who find a unique way to open the door and build bridges in the industry. Wine Enthusiasts is the media and commercial company that believes in making wine approachable for all and welcoming everyone to the wine lifestyle. So shout out to the community as well as Dope for their contribution and being part of that Future 40. Then I guess lastly, tomorrow is actually my birthday, but I went ahead and celebrated. We had our monthly beer share for the Black beer delegates. And so I was like, well, let's do two things at once. So I got a chance to enjoy some beers. Went to my favorite brewery, which is Vector in Dallas. Had my Angry Bee pizza and got a lovely cake. And we just kind of just hung out. And that was really it. So I turn 55 tomorrow. So double nickels. So no fanfare. This is really, that was pretty much it as far as what I'm going to be doing. So I enjoyed that. And I think that is all of my beer news. Yes, it is. So let me go ahead and bring my guest up. Hi, Billie. How are you?
I am wonderful. How are you today?
Good, good, amazing. So I'm so excited to get a chance to talk to you. I saw you during Crafted for Action,
Okay. Yes.
and so that was really cool to see you. And I was like, oh, this will be interesting. So I'm glad that I reached out and was able to get a hold of you. So
Absolutely. Thanks for
have
having
some
me.
have some questions just to kind of get to know you. And I'm gonna turn your mic down a little bit.
Oh, it's a little loud. Oops,
No,
sorry about
it's crackling, but it's fine. I just want to make sure that people can hear us.
that. Okay.
So let's see. So what sparked your passion for creating Goddess in a Glass?
I'm gonna actually step outside. I'm so sorry. I
Okay.
waited right until I got ready to jump on the podcast, and then it happened. All right, here we are.
Well, I
I
hope
am
it's not
back.
hot
Sorry about
outside.
that.
I hope it's not too hot out there.
No, it feels great actually. The sun's going down. It is very, very nice out here.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So yes, the question one more time. I'm so sorry.
Sure. What sparked your passion for creating Goddess in a Glass?
So basically, Goodness in the Glass just came from me wanting to branch off separately from my other company, which is the Vino Van. At
Mhm.
one point in time, I was doing everything under the Vino Van. In addition to my wine tours, I was also doing my private wine tastings, my public wine tastings, pop ups, wine pairing dinners, all of those things. I was doing them under the Vino Van. So in my efforts to want to just allow the Vino Van just to be tours and that is all, I came up with Goodness in the Glass. And so the reason why I chose that name is because I wanted to have a philanthropic component as well, in addition to it being all the other things that I just mentioned. And so it's also, I guess I can call it one of my taglines. So when I am doing my pop up tastings or my private tastings, I tend to say that a lot in reference to wine. So I'm always saying wine is more than just goodness in a glass because it is. It's history, it's culture, it's science, it's just all of these things. And so yeah, that's kind of how that name came about, and I decided to make that the name of that particular company.
Okay. Okay. So, what do you think is the biggest myth about wine that you would love to debunk when teaching?
The biggest myth, gosh, it's a lot of them. So I think maybe the biggest one would be um, only certain kind of people drink wine. People that are like, wine is looked at as like this, you know, elegant thing, or a thing that has something to do with um, elevation, or, something like being hoity toity, for a lack of better words. It is
Hmm.
all of those things. Don't get me wrong. Yes, it is. But it is also something that should be enjoyed by any and everybody. And it has absolutely nothing to do with social status, or, whether you even know a whole lot about wine. You can absolutely enjoy wine and not know a whole lot about it. That's the whole part of the journey, just learning about it. But the only way that you can learn is to drink more wine. But yeah, I just kind of want to get people to understand that wine is made for everybody, from all walks of life, all cultures, just for the people. Wine is for the people.
Okay. So, how does wine education open doors for people of color in the industry that you may have not always felt welcoming?
Well, it gives us more confidence, I would think.
Hmm.
Because sometimes, and just really in anything, not just wine, but just in something where you are in a space and you're not very familiar with the space, or you're not um, very knowledgeable about what it is. Sometimes it can be a little intimidating, because especially if you have people around you who are well versed in whatever it is. So I think the education part is very important, which is my driving force to educate as many people as I possibly can about wine, because I think that will absolutely help them, um, get rid of those fears, and get them more comfortable with drinking wine, with talking about wine, with having
Hmm.
conversation about wine with others.
Okay. Okay. So, Tell me, what part of the world are you in right now? Where are you?
But right now, I am in Atlanta, Georgia. I am in
Okay.
this neighborhood called North Highlands. I'm at one of my many favorite wine shops. It's called Vinoteca. So I'm sitting outside of Vinoteca right now because
Okay.
our Hue Society is on the other side of those doors. We're having our monthly meeting, and I'm the vice president of the Hue Society, the Atlanta chapter.
So, what is a youth society?
So the Hue Society is it's a conglomerate of many things actually. Its focus is just that, is to create these spaces for people of color, BIPOC people in the industry, providing support for us, resources for us, and that can look like, these the certifications that a lot of us do take, being able to be, for those to be accessible to us. It's basically a family. It's a community. It's a community of people who are made up of wine professionals and also people who are not wine professionals. They just love wine, or they just have a passion and they want to learn more about wine. So the Youth Society was founded. Our founder, her name is Tahira Habibi, and it is a global entity. We have chapters all around the U.S. and in other countries as well. So our chapter, like I mentioned, ours is called the Sweet Auburn chapter, which
Hmm.
of course has a lot to do with the history of Atlanta and especially the history of Auburn Avenue.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So, are you a native to Atlanta, or are you from somewhere else?
So I am not a native of Atlanta. I am originally from Woodville, Mississippi. Um,
Okay.
yes, but I have been here since '99. And Atlanta is my home now. Really, when I think about it, I honestly I think I've been here longer than I was living in Mississippi, because I left there right after high school.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Hmm. That's a stretch. Did you go there from school? Is that how you made it
it
there?
it is. So my
Okay.
path out of high school, my first stop was Tuskegee University,
Okay.
and I majored in architecture there. And I
Mhm.
was at Tuskegee for like a year and a summer, and I've always loved the arts. The arts has always been at the core of everything that I love and that I do. Which wine being one of them. Wine is an art form, but I was not told that there were schools that were solely dedicated to the arts. So coming from where I'm coming from, they push a lot of other industries for women, like nursing. So,
Mhm.
and that's not something that I wanted to do. So, the closest thing to that that I was advised to do was architecture. So, so be it. But I came to visit Atlanta once and I saw a billboard for the Art Institute of Atlanta. And I was floored because I had never heard of the Art Institutes. I had never known about these schools for the arts. And I literally scheduled an appointment, skipped class, and drove up here and fell in love with the Art Institute. So I transferred. I left, and that was in 2000 when I started at the Art Institute Atlanta, and I majored in multimedia and web design and graphic design.
Awesome. So
Yeah,
cool. That's a great transition as far as like finding finding your passion.
yeah,
Like, okay, this will pay my bills, but if I can find my passion,
yes, yes,
it's gonna
absolutely.
last a little bit.
Nothing
It's
like
gonna
it.
last a little longer.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like work.
Hmm. Hmm. So tell me more about the Vino van.
Yes.
Tell me
So
more
the
about
Vino
that.
Van, I founded it in September of 2017. It is a wine tour company. I take passengers from the city of Atlanta and surrounding areas up to the North Georgia vineyards. My tours are all inclusive tours. They're fun, they're educational. You get to learn about the viticulture and, how, and the wine that comes out of North Georgia. And then it also helps support their community up there as well and the local farmers, of course. But currently, my tours visit the areas of Dahlonega and also the areas of Ellijay. Um, they run every single week, 7 days a week. So it's just always a good thing because a lot of people didn't even know that Georgia had vineyards. And then
Right.
the few that did know Georgia had vineyards, there are some mainstream vineyards that a lot of people know about because they're also like resorts slash spas. But my tour goes to some of the more cozier vineyards, some of the ones that um, may not have been as mainstream. And the thing about it is, there's always vineyards opening up here in Georgia,
Oh,
believe it or
nice.
not. Yeah, there were several ones that just opened within the past 2 years. So it's growing.
Okay. Okay. So if the Vino van could talk, what would it say about the journey and communities that it visited?
If the Vino van could talk, um, man, it would have a lot of stories. I mean, it's it's been it's been a fun, wild ride. I can absolutely say that. It has. I pride myself on customer service. I pride myself in saying yes as much as I possibly can to my customers, which I love to call friends in wine. Then no, because I just believe in customizing the most unforgettable experience. If the Vino Band could talk, it would say things like, it's had an amazing 8.5 years bringing people together over wine, helping people create these memories with their families, with their friends, and just happy to be a part of it all, really. And just, being, I guess, the vessel, you know, to get people up there to the mountains and to the vineyards.
Hmm. Okay. So, what personal experience led you to see wine as not just a beverage, but a tool for education and cultural connection?
Well, I always tell people it's because I love food. I love food. I love to eat. And, um, and I'm always on a constant search for good food. And so within that journey, I began to understand the relationship between food and wine and pairing, and how it creates this extraordinary dining experience. To me, food and wine is a marriage, and you can't have one without the other. If you do, you're kind of shorting yourself a little bit, um, because what wine does is help enhance the whole dining experience by bringing out different flavors and characteristics of the dishes that you're eating. And so pairing is, I think, the most important thing ever. And so that's kind of what started my journey, because I wanted to understand that a little bit more. And as I began to learn about wines and different varietals and different regions, I found that all of them have stories. And I love stories, stories about the family, stories about the history of it, how it started. And I love history as well. So those were things that intrigued me, and things that basically drew me closer and deeper into the wine world. And it's been that ever since.
Okay. Um, so, are you under the impression of your wine should match as far as like pairing?
Mhm.
Steak should be red wine, or just do what you please?
I'm gonna say do what you want. I'm gonna say that, and the
Okay.
reason why I say that, and also something that I teach in my pop-ups and my tastings, everybody's palate and everybody's nose is different. We all smell and taste different things. Now, there are some rules of thumb when you're thinking in terms of pairing, because you do want to consider the components of the dish. You do also want to consider the characteristics of the wine, just to make sure that the two aren't fighting each other. But I do want to, for the record, say that you don't always have to have red wine with steak. You can have red wine with fish. You can have red wine with chicken. And you don't always have to have white wine with chicken and fish. You can also have beef or pork or whatever with white wine. You can mix and match, but
Mhm.
I don't think it's I don't think it's as much the protein itself as it is the flavor profile of the dish. You know, you can have pork or you can have beef, but different preparations. Like if it has a gravy, if it's spicy, or if it has like a sweet component to it, or Thai spice, or something of the sorts. Those are the things that you're really pairing for the most part.
Okay. Well, since we are having this conversation about parents, it's time for a game.
Okay.
So we're gonna do wine and movies. So how to play the game? I'm gonna give you an iconic movie, and you're
Okay.
gonna match the style of wine that you think it will pair with that movie.
Fun. Okay. Cool.
All right. So let's get into it. First off, how Stella got her groove back.
How Stella got her groove back. I'm gonna say I'm gonna say an unoaked Chardonnay.
Ooh, okay. Boomerang.
Boomerang. So there were a lot of components. I can't think about Boomerang without thinking about Grace Jones and just Strange in the film.
Yes.
So I'm gonna say for Boomerang, I'm gonna give Boomerang a pet net.
Say that again.
It's called pet net.
Okay.
It's a
What?
form of sparkling wine, but it's some pet nets. They're kind of funky. They're very different. You don't really know what you're gonna, what type of flavor profiles you're gonna get all the time. But they're also ancestral. And so I do recall in the film where the whole basis of the commercial and everything, it gave like animalistic vibes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna say a pet net with Boomerang.
Okay. Okay. Mahogany.
Oh man. Oh man. Okay, so with mahogany, I'm gonna do a little body. So actually, you know what? With mahogany, let's do a Pinot Noir.
Okay.
Let's do a Pinot Noir, but let's do a Burgundian Pinot Noir. A Pinot Noir from Burgundy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is that because usually when I think of, well, when the the not the problem, but the observation with Pinot Noir, people think that it doesn't have enough body.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So what is that, the particular one that you suggested? What is that? How does that differ?
so it differs quite a bit. Sometimes Pinot Noir, it's a very, first of all, it's a very finicky grape. It's very tricky. It's very difficult and hard to grow. So I was also not just thinking of the flavor profiles of the Pinot Noir in relation to the movie, but also characteristics of the grape itself. It's just with and I mean when I say that now, and what happened in that movie, it was just one of those grapes that were just very picky, very thin skinned, but it's still, even though it's a thin skinned grape, it still produces a beautiful color. When you ferment it and macerate it. Um, and also, Pinot Noir can be a little earthy depending on where it comes from. But then, when I mentioned the Burgundian Pinot Noir, it does have that earthiness, but then it also has fruit as well, vibrant fruit. And then I also think that when you're speaking in terms of Pinot Noir, you want to have one from regions where it grows best. Burgundy being one of them, um, Oregon being another, the Willamette Valley. So the place also has a very big impact on what those grapes taste like as well.
See, next,
Oh,
the classic sinners.
baby, listen, that is robust. It is. It's heavy. I'm gonna say a Zinfandel.
Hmm.
Um, I'm gonna say a Zinfandel from Lodi, California.
So it's
It's
gonna have some really thick legs on it. It's gonna coat the glass.
it's gonna coat the glass. It's gonna be fairly high in alcohol content. It's gonna be um, just it's super jammy. It's rich. It packs a punch, is what it does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Malcolm X.
Malcolm X. Let's see. So with Malcolm X, we're gonna do. Let me think about Malcolm X for a second. It was bold. It was in your face. It was a little brash. Um, I want to do an Italian red from Malcolm X. Um, Italian reds tend to be very powerful, and for the most part, most of them require some food. You can't just, they're not as palatable for some people, especially maybe um, new drinkers or people who are just feeling their way around Italian reds. But I'm gonna definitely say that because it's just one of those things where you have to take your time with it. You have to kind of
Okay.
get used to it. It can sometimes come across a little uh I don't want to say abrasive, but it needs food. It's one Italian red wines are those wines that just they need something. Sometimes by
Okay.
themselves they can be a little aggressive.
I think this might be my last one. Love and basketball.
Oh, I love it basketball. You know what? I'm gonna say I want to do something a little softer with love for love and basketball because it's a love story and it was just one of those cool little it was easy.
Mhm.
I don't know. Maybe I'll say I don't want to say Riesling. Actually, you know what I may do? I may say that. I may say Riesling. Riesling is very versatile. It's a very versatile varietal. It can be bone dry. It can be super sweet to the point where it's like dessert wine sweet. So I'm just going to
Mhm.
say the varietal itself for Love and Basketball. I'm still going to say Riesling because it's just a very versatile varietal. And there was a lot of um, up and downs and rounds and different things going on in Love and Basketball. But in the end, you know, it was it was beautiful.
Okay. Well, I think, yep, that is it. Thank you for playing. So, wondering how do you balance honoring traditions of wine while creating a space for new voices and new perspectives?
Um, well, I've always been a very open person. I'm that person. Whatever I'm doing and whatever direction I'm moving in, I'm always very intentional about bringing people with me. Um, I'm always ready to help or assist or answer questions or just be supportive of anyone that comes to me because really honest to me it's flattering. I'm grateful when people think that of me or think enough of me to come to me and ask me about certain things or my opinions or how they should do this or if they're interested in becoming a wine educator or just being in the industry as a whole. I don't take that lightly. I don't. It means a lot to me, and so I'm always very eager to just help in any way that I can.
Mhm.
It's room for everybody.
That definitely, definitely. And I think sometimes people, when they want to start out, they have their game plan,
Yeah.
but the it seems overwhelming. So they need someone that's going to step in and try to help them along, and
Yeah.
know that there is space for them
Yes.
for the
Absolutely.
for their gift.
Absolutely. It's always space. It will always be space.
Yeah. So, what lessons from your own journey, both challenges and triumphs, do you carry into every wine education experience you lead?
Um, Always being open minded. Um, Always understanding that things will happen, and it's not good to just always focus on the negative things when they do occur. as opposed to looking at them and pulling things from them, like what lesson did you learn when this happened, um, as well as what, to know what to do or what not to do again.
Mm-hmm.
But just basically that whole perspective of just keeping an open mind about things, understanding how life is, and just knowing that you you are you are absolutely responsible for your own journey. You are responsible for your own journey. Things can be how you want them to be. It has all to do with the efforts that you put into it, because like my grandmother, my mother taught me, you get out what you put in to anything. And so that is also very important as well. And you have to love it. You have to love it, because if you don't love it, then when adversity comes, you're going to be ready to tap out.
Yeah.
And as much adversity as I have had in my over 10 years of being in the wine industry since 2000 that 2008, um, I never thought about quitting it. I never thought about leaving the wine space ever. I love it too much to do that. But that's with anything, not just wine, but with anything that you do. You have to love what you do.
So, can you share any barriers that you experience that that kind of helped, with your journey that you were able to kind of overcome?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, in all transparency, when I first started off, I was 27, 28 years old. And Atlanta, the wine community or the wine scene in Atlanta was a smidge different. It was a little bit different than what it is now. I actually love the way that it's heading. I love the direction it's heading in. I love where we are now in the industry. But then not it wasn't as receptive in my personal experience for women and for women of color. And there were lots of spaces where I was just really not taken seriously at all. And there were
Mm,
lots of spaces where I was questioned as to why I was even there to begin with. And I guess it comes down to the stereotype and thinking that a certain culture of people are not capable of learning about a certain thing or thriving in a certain space. And that's, of course, just not true, as life is proving that, all around us. But those were indeed some of the challenges that I came about. But at the end of the day, it really honestly fueled my fire.
mhm.
It wasn't honestly me wanting to prove anything to anybody else, but just me wanting to prove it to myself that yes, I do belong here. And yes, I am capable of learning and thriving in the wine industry.
Okay. So, let's see if we can go way, way back.
Okay. Okay.
Do you remember the first wine that you was like, "Ooh, I got to get into this"?
Um, yeah, actually I do. I don't remember exactly what the producer was, but I will say it was a German Riesling. And
Okay.
I feel like my story is very similar to a lot of my peers. And that's just because naturally our palates gravitate to things that are sweet and pleasant and just like not fussy or any of that. And usually Riesling is one of those things. So yeah, it was definitely a German Riesling. That's for sure.
Now, is there any varietal that you like? You, I'm glad you liked it because it's not my jam.
Um, yeah, well, you know what? Believe it or not, I am not a very big red wine drinker.
Okay.
Um, I drink it, of course, because in my industry there are times that calls for that. And but when it's selective, when it's just me and I'm just choosing my own wine that I want to drink, with dinner or whatever, I'm not choosing red wines unless they're chillable. I do like chillable. I tend to like chillable, lighter bodied red wines like a Gamay, which is a great varietal, or um, something like like a Baga, which is another red grape varietal. But just I tend to like lighter bodied red wines that I can chill. But
Mhm.
aside from that, it's the red wine for me.
That's interesting. It took me a while to get into red wines, and I found out that it was the more bolder, spicier Malbecs. That's
Okay.
my favorite. That's my if I have to have a red
Awesome.
wine, that's what I'm gonna drink.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I do absolutely understand and appreciate the red wines that I drink, especially with
Mhm.
being in my industry. I can definitely taste red wines whether I'm in a at a trade show or I'm at a in a master class or and I can appreciate it and I know how to um, identify the quality of it. It's
Yes.
just and that's another thing too as a wine educator that you do have to kind of separate, especially when you are teaching people about wine and when you are even making suggestions to people about wine. You cannot allow your own personal drinking preferences to interfere or influence that. You have to have a general understanding of the structure of the wine, whether it's balanced, all of these other things. And then you also have to pay attention to the person that you are consulting, what their preferences are. But being able
Mhm.
to identify that, even though it's something that you wouldn't personally just, open up a bottle of and sit and sip on, but being able to choose that wine for someone else. So yes, it's just like I said, it's not my go-to. Put it that way.
Yeah, I was very surprised. It just on happenstance I found out that because I didn't like red wine at all.
Yeah,
I didn't want any.
I think it's
So
beautiful. I do. I think red wine
yeah.
is all wine is beautiful. It's lovely.
Yeah, I mean, with that, thinking about what the consumer is wanting, and then I'm also thinking about price point because you want to be able to be wherever they are, say, hey, here's this level,
Mhm.
price point compared to this one, and so they can choose because that's
Yeah.
one thing that me being doing liquor, trying to find the sweet spot for whoever
Right.
whoever's coming to my table.
Right. 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 Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing to do. You definitely have to find quality wine in all price points. That's for sure. And you can, and it's possible. I've done it a million times.
Yes.
Hmm.
So, where do you see yourself in 5 years with goodness in a glass as well as the Vino van? Is going to
Yeah.
be a fleet?
It's gonna be what now? I'm sorry.
A fleet? A fleet of
Yeah.
vans?
I mean, yeah. That is absolutely the goal. The goal is to continue to expand and be able to accommodate, all of the people that want to take my tours and visit North Georgia. Um, Always constantly tweaking, and figuring out ways to make the experience even better. Um, Adding on things that I've done that I've started doing that, but as more things come about, more fun and interesting things that are related, offering other things in addition to the tours. Like one of the things is a wine making class that you can add on to your tour if you'd like. It's at the winemaking studio, which is in Lawrenceville, and so there are a lot of guests that come aboard that add on that winemaking class. It's just a great experience, and they get to take home their own wine to enjoy, when they at a later time with instructions as well on how to complete the fermentation process. But
That's
fun things like that.
Yeah, that's definitely a wonderful experience. It,
Yeah.
of course, I immediately thought of Lucy. I love Lucy when she was uh, stomping on the grapes, but I'm sure it's a whole nother a better
Oh
process
yeah,
than
yeah,
that.
it's a whole process. It is. But yeah, that's what I see for the Vino van. As far as goodness in the glass, I just see myself expanding in terms of offering more public events um, that are wine education focused in a fun way. The fun is a very important part for me. It has to be fun, um, and of course, establishing the the philanthropic component of Goodness in the Glass to begin to do fundraisers and, other things that will benefit and contribute to my community.
Mhm. So where we might see you, because I know that you did a wine summit, like DC Wine Summit. I'm probably
Yeah.
saying the name wrong.
So I did a couple things this year. The very first was Crafted for Action that you mentioned earlier. I came in this year as their wine program director. So I basically curated a whole entire wine program for the conference. And in the past, it may have been like a day, but this year it was wine driven or wine focused panels, experiences throughout the whole entire conference, which was so fun and so well received. And I was very happy about that. The second thing I did was Wine and Culture Fest in DC. The founder of Crafted for Action, Jen Price, her and I partnered and we brought to life our beer versus wine that we did at one point in time via Instagram Live during the shutdown. And so it was a series, it was four sessions. And we basically, within beer versus wine, she would choose a craft beer, I would choose a wine. And we would just talk to people about the similarities and the differences in the two, as well as the processes. And it was just a really fun thing. So we finally did it for the very first time in person at Wine and Culture Fest. So that was also a lot of fun. And lastly, I went to Pittsburgh and I did a tasting panel at Barrel and Flow. It was called Bubbles with Billie. And so I poured three sparkling wines, all of which are produced by African Americans. I had the Kamusha from South Africa. I also had which was a pet nat. I also poured a Blanc de Blanc from Oregon called McCullum Heritage 91. And then I also poured a Cremant de la War Rosé from France that's called Q10. So that was a lot of fun introducing those wines in that market. I don't think that those wines were or have been there or are there previously. So it's always a lot of fun, to bring something new
Mhm.
and just see how people like it.
Okay. So are you doing anything for the rest of the year as far as like touring?
So as far as any more conferences thus far, I don't have any
Okay.
more coming up that I know of.
Okay.
Um, but I don't know. That could change.
Very much.
Uh,
That's true.
and so right now it's just I'm focusing on the Vino van, and I'm also working on a experience that I'm going to have at the end of September, possibly that last Sunday in September, which is going to be in the form of a taste around. So it's going to be a pop up, but it's not going to be like my traditional ones, which are like sit down, you know, uh, pop ups. This one is going to actually be a walk around tasting. So I'm working on that now, and I'll have all of those details up on my Instagram, once I finalize everything. But I'm very excited about that because I've never done that before. So,
That sounds fun.
yes.
I'll definitely put when you get the information, I'll definitely put that in beer news.
Thank you. I
Um,
appreciate that.
so my last question for you would be, how do you define success in your journey? Is it the number of people that you reached, the stories that you shared, or is it something a little bit deeper?
It's really all of those things that you mentioned. It is the people that I reach, it's the people that I meet. It's the people that I meet that start off as strangers that become friends. Um,
Hmm.
Success is when you can bring people together from all walks of life, from all different types of backgrounds and so forth, and bring them all together over one common thing, which is wine. And so much comes out of that. I get a
Hmm.
lot of gratification watching people who, I may have pulled together in the same setting or attended my pop-up tastings, and by the end they're exchanging numbers, they're sharing stories, they're getting to know each other. And I think that's very important because we need that. We've always needed it, but we really need that now. We need a
Yes.
lot more love. And so that's that's one of the things I think makes what I do a successful thing. Um, and then also because it's one of those things where you can just be. You can just be. You don't have to think about how to act, or it doesn't matter how you act, what you look like, or any of that. You can just be who you are, and it's just creating a comfortable, safe space where people are not intimidated and they feel like they belong because they do. So that's what that looks like to me.
Okay. Well, that sounds like a wonderful thing.
I think so.
Well, thank you so much, Billie. I really appreciate you sharing with our audience
Hmm.
about goodness in a glass and the Vino Van and everything
Yes.
that you're doing in Atlanta and Atlanta proper. But thank you again. Thank you for everyone in the audience. I believe Daniel. He said that he got a chance to meet you at Barrel and Flow, so he was giving you a shout out there.
Oh, cool,
And
cool, cool.
yeah,
Awesome.
but again, we thank Billie for stopping by. And this is Angie, the undeniable vixen, for being black and craft. Where we don't apologize for recognizing our influence on wine.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, another thing too. I noticed in the beginning. So I am also a Future 40 tastemaker as well.
Are you really?
I am. Yes, I am.
Oh, well,
I'm the 2025.
congratulations!
Thank you. I
You know
appreciate
what? I saw another picture, but I was like, I don't know who that is, and it was just
it.
because
Listen,
I
the
follow
illustrations were a
them,
little tricky. Okay, they were a little tricky,
and they
but
were
yeah.
like, kind of like this. I was like, I
Uh
see
huh.
faces. I said, but I don't know who that person is.
Yes.
Well, congratulations! You're awesome,
Thank
amazing, and awesome as well. Well, you
you.
already
Thank
are, but
you.
now with that,
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
yes. Okay. Well, we'll say our good nights, and we'll tune back in on next week.